Good afternoon. I'm Jeffrey Lossos Ferns, and I'm the gallery director at Sea Gallery here in Arizona at DC Ranch, which is in North Scottsdale. Today we're going to have an artist talk. I'm here with Keziah Toews. She's a visiting photographer from Canada. She'll talk a little bit about more of herself. This is some of her work behind us. So she does landscape and nature photography.
That's right, yes.
So Kezia, tell us a little bit about yourself. Give us a little personal background of where you come from prior to going into how you got into photography.
Sure. So I was born in Winnipeg. I'm still living there. And I guess in Winnipeg, it's got a pretty long winter. And so you spend a lot of time trying to make yourself busy. And I guess I started with more indoor photography because it's very cold outside. And then I realized I'm missing a lot outside of the house. So I left, and I kind of didn't want to leave ever since.
And how old were you when you picked up your first camera?
Oh, I think I have a picture. Actually, I think I have a picture sitting on my desk of my aunt and I. She'd given me a camera to play with when I was really young, like 5 or so. But then I really only started taking photos about since I was 15 or so.
15?
Yeah.
And what was the catalyst to taking photos? Was it the winters again, nature?
It was. I mean, it was something. There's the novelty to it. Like it was something new to do, and I kind of fell in love with it pretty quick. And yeah, it's kind of
so tell me your subject matter: landscapes, nature, and you also have an interesting twist to how you capture those. Tell me a little bit about why you photograph nature and landscapes.
Sure. So I definitely tend to obviously photograph nature and landscapes because they're still, and I get a lot of time to really be out there, like personally and physically, and have time to center myself. I'm a pretty anxious person, so I find it's really nice change from taking photos in the city, for instance, or of people with people. It's a nice way to kind of relax and be grounded when I'm taking the photo. Another reason why I really enjoy taking landscape photos is just because I think there's so much uh, like when you're out there alone and you're just alone there with your camera, you kind of just feel like unnecessary,
Yeah.
Yeah, you find yourself in this landscape and you realize you're just an accessory.
Oh, beautiful.
And it's nice.
So you've traveled quite extensively around the world. How many countries do you think you've shot in so far?
Um, probably around 12 or so.
12 countries?
Yeah.
And did you have a moment or in your mind when I'm talking about this travel and photography? What was probably one of your most extraordinary experiences shooting?
Sure. I really specifically, that makes me think of Iceland. I really enjoyed going there. The land is it's kind of like its own little desert because there's not a lot of foliage and just dramatic landscapes all over the place. And it really, because of the volcanic activity and the freshness of the landscape, Iceland's made up of volcanoes and everything. It's kind of a really raw moment. It kind of felt like, it's really.
So, is there a place that you haven't been to yet that you want to shoot that's on your bucket list?
I'd like to go to Central Iceland.
Central Iceland.
I did the ring road and I went to the outside, but I'd like to see Central Iceland would be great, or the Western fjords would be really excellent.
Yes.
Norway would also be really excellent.
And then in terms of moving around as a photographer and stuff like that, can you share with us any experiences you've had that still are in your mind, not related to photography, but in that travel experience as a female photographer?
As a female photographer, I think to that end of things, I remember going, actually coming here, to be honest, and I have family here. I visit my mom. Now I'm gonna visit you. The galleries here and everything. I've really enjoyed coming here and being able to stay here for longer periods of time and wake up and feel, build more of a connection to the area around me. I'm not from here, definitely, and I don't have any, connections down my family line at all to this area. So I just can't help but feel really lucky.
No, these are her photographs behind me right here.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about each piece and stuff, or what inspired you to shoot these pieces here.
Sure. So yeah, these three pieces are just from around the area. I have a few more in the gallery that are also from the area. But for these pieces in particular, I shot them in one day, in one evening. And it was just as the sun was going down. This was the first one, this one over here was the first one that I shot. Just as the sun was coming down, and I was just walking through, trying not to get bit by something. and I guess I was kind of lost in my head, and the shadow was cast on me, and I looked up, and there was this like really amazing still life form. I don't know,
Yeah.
it sounds really dramatic the way I'm saying it, but it was, I don't know, it took my breath away a little bit. It's simple, but it's absolutely amazing, very old. So anyways, I spent time there just kind of looking at it, watching the sun go down. This was a nearby cactus as well that I just spent time sitting around. It had a whole bunch of arms in the base. It just kind of just captured my interest. And then lastly, I just waited on this empty road here and just waited to see as the sun go down. So most of actually all of the images in this gallery are from the same night. So I wanted to show the change in scenery as the sun sets, and just how diverse it can look.
It's pretty dramatic. I'm a native Arizonan, and we call these the Watchers,
Oh, yeah.
because they are these ancient sentinels that almost as you're watching them, they're watching
back. Yeah,
definitely. And they're sentinels. We call it desert sentinels and stuff. And it is a dramatic change through daylight and light, how it hits and captures the desert. It almost crawls over.
Yeah.
So this area here, was this North Scottsdale?
It was. It was near Happy Valley.
Near Happy Valley Road. So in Winnipeg, going from and photographing landscape and nature, tell us a little bit about your home in terms of what's that like in terms of landscape.
Winnipeg is a very special place because, just for me, because of the people who live in there more than anything. I actually find it really difficult to shoot in Winnipeg. Maybe because I'm so used to the area and I'm not spending enough time with it. Yeah. I'm just thinking about traveling elsewhere, and I really would like to spend more time and to really truly appreciate where I come from. And so if I'm shooting in Winnipeg, I'm mostly shooting with families, and weddings and things like that. But if I'm shooting landscape, I prefer to go and do some abstract, interesting thing like in the forest nearby. So
yeah, because I did notice a lot of abstract in some of your other work online, and you can go to cgalleryart.com, and Keziah has a page there, and she also has a gallery of a lot of the images she's taken all over the world. So tell me about your work. Have you seen an evolution of your work from beginning to where it is now, and where do you see yourself moving, or feel yourself moving in your work?
Sure. So starting out, I just took photos of, like, I wasn't really serious about it. I was like, this looks cool, not really thinking much about it. And then I kind of was in a time in my life where I, needed to, really start to earn some money. So then I just started shooting with, families and weddings and things like that. But then I started getting into landscapes about 3 years ago. And I originally said to myself, we're not going to edit or touch anything. Like, it doesn't need to be edited or anything like that. And that was really fun to do. But then I've become more relaxed with it, and sort of, being there, you can never really quite recreate the photo. Yeah. And so in realizing that and getting over my minor disappointment, because it's so, when you're there, it's like, wow. I kind of started playing around with color a little bit, and it turned into something much more meaningful for me. So what I try to do now, like in the last little while, is I want to be able to give people a sense of relief when they look at my photo, and kind of give them a different sort of experience when they are looking at it, something to, make things seem a little different.
So we had some customers in here yesterday in the gallery, and a couple was really drawn to your work. specifically this image right here.
That's good.
So the wife went and pulled the husband into the gallery.
Nice.
And he started getting into work. So he started asking me a lot of questions specifically about this piece and almost the technique that you used for this piece. Can you tell us a little bit about how you did this with this shot?
Sure, absolutely. I just used a really regular lens for this one. I tried out a couple. This was 18 to 55. And I was sitting on the edge of the road, and I just crouched in just before the ditch, right on the edge there. And I just took multiple photos throughout the night. Then when I left, I went on my computer where I do my editing and things like that, and I took a look at the different colors that came up, and I tried to make a mix of it. So it kind of looks natural, but I kind of want it to look a little surreal, a little old. So I put some grain on it a little bit. I didn't want it to be super crisp.
Yeah, he caught all that. He caught
that's great.
The color and the not crispness and stuff, and he was really fascinated about that because his daughter just got married. And she hired a photographer, and she said, she wanted a lot of the white light, I think, removed. You know?
Like kind of atmospheric, right?
Yeah. So this piece really fascinated him because they were looking for work for their home. And this has almost a contemporary yet old feel, is what he said. It could fit in both worlds and stuff. So.
That's excellent. It's kind of what I was trying to produce.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He caught that yesterday.
I really appreciate that because I worry sometimes I think about sometimes that maybe it looks like I just missed the mark entirely, but I think I'm hitting my own marks. I like it. I'm glad he liked it.
So it's interesting as we get customers here in the gallery looking at the variations of art that's available. Who's drawn to what pieces and stuff like that? Photography, do you find photography in your experience? Have you been to a lot of galleries that have photography in them?
I have, but mostly when I look at photography, I kind of look at people who aren't well known. And just enjoy talking with them, like on social media, for instance. And keep it kind of like in that sphere.
Yeah, well, this is being pushed out to a couple of groups that are photography professionals and enthusiasts. For a couple of reasons. One, because C Gallery, we feature women artists, local, national, and international women artists and stuff. In addition, if you look with regards to photography and fine art in Scottsdale, I think there's maybe one or two galleries that maybe sometimes feature photography, but other than that, in this gallery world here, there's not that many galleries and stuff. You do see a lot of photography and fine art in museums and stuff like that.
Very true.
We were just at the Met recently, and they had some beautiful exhibitions on photography. My personal take on photography is that there's this moment in time of a person, of a human being on this earth in their lifetime, seeing something through their lens that no one else will see. It's really like this moment in time and stuff. And when I look at photography, especially yours, what's fascinating me, especially this piece over here, you can't see it, but it's above the desk over here, is the mood, the moment.
Nice.
The car light shining onto the piece and stuff. Through your lens, you took us there, And when I was looking at some of the other photographs yesterday, especially the one with the bubbles and the kids in the background.
Oh, nice. You like that?
You took us there, And I think that's what I like about photographers, especially photographers that are understanding who they are in this world, because that lens develops. And it never stops developing, because I know 80-year-old photographers. And you look at, do you always have a camera with you?
I try, yeah.
Travel with the camera?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, do you have any questions for me, Keziah?
Well, I haven't thought too much about this, but as we're talking, I'm sort of interested in if you would what you feel is sort of the differences between, like, you're surrounded by paintings and photography, and I'm wondering what you see as the differences in terms of what people are able to capture in both mediums.
So for me, what's interesting about, and I've been in the arts for 25 plus years, working in all mediums of the arts. mostly in arts administration. But what I feel is that an artist is not a discipline. It is a human being that experiences something almost unseen through the interactions in this world, and they are propelled to try to recreate that, be it a two-dimensional visual painting, be it a piece of photography, be it a sculpture and stuff. So I think in regards to, two-dimensional, three-dimensional, and even performance art, we're born of creation as human beings. It is that creation that, brings us out into this world. And I think when we shed some of the distractions that connect us to spirit in a secular way, we're able to communicate things that are all around us all the time. We all have a lens, and we see things and we feel things, and then we manifest it. So that's my take on two-dimensional, three-dimensional, and I think part of the joy and journey of being in the arts and an artist is moving past that distraction so that we can fully further express. And some of my favorite artists aren't a discipline.
Right.
They're sculptors and costumers and musicians.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I love the evolution of an artist, and I love the process of arts. Like when you were telling me you were crouched down, inside I started giggling because I'm like, only an artist in the middle of the desert with scorpion snakes, and tarantulas is going to get that shot, right? But that is the process. I love the process and stuff. So if that answered your question in terms of the arts and stuff, I also think the arts is medicine.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think through being in galleries and museums and interacting with the world at large, that we open up spaces of healing for each other and community that otherwise wouldn't be there. So I think it's a vital component to society and social interactions and medicine, as we call it in my culture.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think I think I understand where you're coming from. I think that makes a lot of sense, and I agree with that. I think another thing that art is, what makes art special as a communication method is that verbal communication, body language, eye contact, things like that, they're context specific. Art doesn't necessarily have to be context specific, but can rather create its own context for the people enjoying it, and so it's a really interesting, transformative way of communicating, which goes over these social boundaries and walls that people pull up. Because
exactly, and it's subjective and cathartic. So my personal life experience seeing this is going to be very different from the person standing next to me.
It's true. It can be therapy for anybody looking at it, because they'll see what they need to see or what they want to see, which is nice.
Yeah. So that is our artist talk, a Salon, The Gallery. Keziah, thank you for sharing your word and time with us. You can look at her work at cgalleryart.com. Keziah Toews. There's a huge gallery of her work that she's traveled all over the world shooting and stuff. Our next salon is Thursday, November 12th. We're doing an edible desert walk and tasting with Twyla Casadora from 1 to 3 here at the gallery. This is our second walk with Twyla. Twyla and I will take you through the desert landscape here near the gallery, talking about edible medicinal plants and ancestral foods. Following that, November 19th, the art of origami. Carol will be in the gallery teaching people origami, and also talking about her work and her, over 30, 40 years creating these amazing three-dimensional geometric origami sculptures. So you may learn to make a paper crane, which she doesn't make paper cranes. She goes, that's the one thing she couldn't master. But when you look at her work, she has these extraordinary other pieces that she started doing origami kind of to calm herself down, and so it being cathartic for her. So anyway, I'm Jeffrey Lassos Ferns. You can check us out at cgalleryart.com. I will push this video out to other platforms within the next couple of days. But thank you for tuning in.
Thank you.